Shaolin, now all I touch, I am a master here.
Welcome to the wardrobe sessions. Is what I'm going to call it. That's what I'm going to call my edition. No, I think it's about time that we flip the tables a little bit. And in this session, we've got myself, our Rhino, and Sid. And I get to sort of ask a few of the questions instead of getting peppered and talking about Rod Stewart squeezing the Eagles over and over again.
Rod Stewart squeezing the Eagles.
Rod Stewart squeezing the Eagles. There we go. That's a book. But no, so I think just getting an understanding of sort of your points, Sid, around the ethos of the band, talking about exactly kind of what us lads have been talking about, what you did with Tommy, and how you've managed to sort of start getting involved in much more than just songwriting, into social media and into garage band and Logic, and sort of how your creative process worked alongside learning from the master himself, Rhino, and our other mastering man, Tommy G. Because that's something that I am kind of interested in, to see your development throughout that as well, and kind of us as a band throughout that electronic phase, putting down the guitars. So I want to pepper you both with a bit of that for my personal pleasure.
That's fine, mate. Absolutely fine. Looking forward to this, man.
Well, do you want to go with the first question, Ryan, or do you want me to pepper him?
Hold on, what have you planned something here? What's going on? Rhino's got involved here. Come on, let me have it. Let me have it.
We had a list, didn't we, Ryan, of questions that are not suitable.
Yeah, it was a big list.
But I suppose just starting at the beginning to set a bit of context, as you know that I like, but understand your sort of briefly your musical journey to kind of where we are now. I guess obviously we've all been in different outfits and stuff, and growing up wanting to be a musician, and now here we are talking about it. So just a brief story of Sid, please.
Brief. Okay.
Well,
yeah. Music came to me. Well, it's year 5 in school. I had this really arty teacher, and she encouraged me to sing in a choir and stuff like that. So that happened. I enjoyed that. She introduced me to like drawing, art, like Renaissance painters and stuff like that, pre-Raphaelite painters and that. And I'd never experienced art before, so that was kind of like my introduction, and that kind of blew my mind. And then a few years after that, I think Oasis came on the scene. It was Wonderwall for the first time. That changed my life. That was like, yes, because I'm from a big football family, so it was always football. And then music always comes hand in hand with football, doesn't it? You know what I mean? It's like if you're within the football culture, you kind of music's like I say, hand in hand with that. But yeah, from listening to Oasis, then there was a lad on our street who had a guitar. He was teaching everyone how to play Wonderwall. So go around to his, learn that.
Things don't change. I think that still happens with people, that when you want to learn guitar, someone across the way or on the next door button can play that, and they'll teach you that. That's
it is, mate. That one guy in your street, he does it. But yeah, I think I got an acoustic for around that Christmas, just many moons ago. Proper started in a band near the end of high school with just a few mates, like, because I think it was around that time of the New Rock Revolution, the Libertines and that were coming out, and everyone was starting bands. Arctic Monkeys were coming, and it was just kind of like, yeah, bands, but this is the thing to do. And yeah, it's just kind of gone from there, really. It's just been one continuous thing now. It's my life. It's my main interest. What I love doing, I love listening to music, love talking about music, love studying music. That's kind of what it progressed to. It kind of became more of a study than just listening. It was like, who are the best artists, who are considered the best artists, where are the best albums or considered the best albums, you know what I mean? And then just literally tearing them apart and just seeing how they were made, and just research all the time. That's kind of how I listen. But that's how I get my influence.
That's sort of a mature progression, I guess, that you get into actually understanding it. At first, it's a lust in it. You're just involved in the moment with music. I think you find yourself at particular parts of your life or particular things that have happened around music. You kind of lust for it. But I suppose as you develop into a musician and get into it, that's exactly where you mature to try and try and study it and understand it more to be able to kind of replicate and do it yourself, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. It's like learning through imitation half the time. You know, you wanting to know how that person did it. I think Ryan will agree with, like, when he's getting his sounds and stuff like that, you'll hear a certain sound and it's kind of like, how have they done that? So then you'll go into it, how they've done it, and then you'll just try and make it yourself. But then because you are doing it yourself and you're a different person, it kind of becomes yours along the way. It's nice.
Yeah, totally. And I think that with your sort of setup, Ryan, we spoke about it obviously on a couple of podcasts ago, around how you sort of started with the music, all your family obviously playing music, and you've just been surrounded by it, I guess, and you kind of stepped into it. For you to go through to that element of studying it, I guess, or understanding it, I guess, came completely via ear or via the people around you, the environment. I suppose you were sucked into it that way, as opposed to a particular, I don't know, choice, or I'm not saying you didn't have a choice. That sounds horrendous. You were born to be, but you know what I mean. I suppose it was around you there, and you kind of got that knowledge of it really sort of naturally, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me it was about having an identity during my teenage years. I suppose it's probably going back to what Sid said, like it was just something to do at school, but then it was like, I think the first sort of band that really struck me was actually quite late on. It's probably my uncle introduced me to the Smiths at about 14 years old, and that was it. Then it was like it was almost as if I'd been it was like as I was just listening to pop music, and not saying like that's what I was doing, but until someone showed me the Smiths, it was like, wait a minute, no, I don't know music at all. And then it started, and then he just kind of opened me up to, like I say, mentioned my uncle there. He introduced me to the Smiths, and then it was like a lot of 80s, 90s bands, and then that was it then. And I just immediately found this wealth of music and identity that I could relate to. And not many other people were listening to that at my age group. And then obviously then when you go out to the Northern Quarter, when 16, 17, 18, you find these people who are doing the same thing when they were your age as well.
You
then you end up,
cracked it.
yeah, and then it's good. I think that's probably was my sort of catalyst was the Smiths.
Yeah,
definitely.
It wasn't. I never really got into the Smiths. I don't think. Well, I don't think I should know. Really, it's my own being, but I didn't. No one kind of really showed me until I came really to Manchester. Never really connected with the Smiths, but I think that it must have been a euphoric moment, obviously within Manchester and the bands, and with the amount that came through after that, I suppose.
It couldn't really sound any more Manchester, could there? It's like literally, if you think of a band in a way, because it's just grey and miserable half the time. The weather and stuff like that, and they just seep out the concrete. The Smiths a little bit. It's so real. Everything they're singing about is just, you see the characters all the time. Stuff that Morris is saying, like it's just stitched into Manchester culture, and they're still a bit of a Marmite band over here. I think you do. You either love them or you hate them. Same with Morris here, but I think that's great. Like, you shouldn't have to be liked by everyone. I think it means you're in like a unique or an individual if you completely split the crowd. Like,
yeah,
that's a good trait, and that's a big thing for the Smiths for me, and that's why I love them, because they're not pleasing. They're not trying to please everybody. They're just saying how it is, really.
Yeah, I know that's quite inspiring, I suppose, in it as you're growing up throughout that. I can imagine that being quite nice. I think the creative process, I guess, is one that interests me, in a sense that we, like, back then, I suppose, it was always around writing music with your guitars and writing it, and it still obviously is, but I mean, I suppose it was never understood how it could develop, and how songwriting and how making music can develop into how it has done now. And I suppose that transition between going from being on your guitars and writing it naturally and writing the music that way, to moving into kind of what we're doing now, which is something a little bit different. Our writing process has changed. I think that's what interests me as to what comes next after that, because you've seen that develop into something more, I don't know, new world type in terms of music. Music's being allowed to change, being allowed to do what it wants in so many different ways than what it was. There was only a certain amount of categories back then, I guess. And I suppose that for me is something within that we've kind of expressed within our tunes, and how we've been able to go to something completely different, and writing music maybe a different way around. Do you think that's something that you, I don't know, planned to do or wanted to do? Did you always think that you were going to do it kind of the same way before you did it kind of this way? If that makes sense, I guess.
I'll start by answering that, and then I'll go more to Ryan, because Ryan did start it, but it came both. From literally, it was Ryan who's kind of brought Logic to the table, and I kind of remember him always messing with stuff. I can't remember how it actually started, but I know for a fact that me and Ryan really got into it as a way of writing. Near the end of Cupid's, it was kind of like I was going round to his, and it was a completely new world. It was just like track there, record your vocal. You didn't have to go and pay. You didn't have to go and hire a studio out. So it was kind of free, and it was like, oh right, you can come up with an idea straight away, and then it's on record. You can go home and listen to it all night, and it's like it was just something that changed my life again. Yeah, you know what I mean? So I don't like going over to Ryan. When did Logic and that start? So when did it come into the picture for you, Ryan? Can you remember?
Yeah, so it's really strange because I was only thinking about this the other day. Logic is obviously a DAW, which is DAW. I think it stands for digital audio workspace, but I might have that wrong. Well, I'm not claiming to know, so there you go. And it's really weird because my dad actually had a DAW, which was Cubase, and he had Cubase when I was in primary school. Because my dad's a musician, and I do remember like towards the end of primary school and beginning of high school, I was actually using Cubase and making little beats.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's mad.
And it was mad. So it was like a very, very early version of it, and it was so limited what it could do. But that was my first time of actually getting on something like that. I remember like recording vocals, and I couldn't even tell you what I did on it. But yeah, that was that. And then didn't really do anything at all until went to college. And then basically, whilst me, Tommy and James were at college together, that's where we started learning Logic. It was like one of the courses that we did then.
That's like, pretty mad to think about even that in itself. You, Tommy and James been at college together, being introduced to Logic, and then flip it however many years later, you're actually just doing that, what you was doing before.
But the challenge with it is that the entry point for somebody of that age was difficult because it meant you had to buy a Mac, and you meant, you had to have, and that costs a lot of money. So then, my mum and dad bought me my first Mac, and then started recording. But but what I feel like now is that everybody's kind of got a MacBook or has got Logic, or I mean, like I say, everything's advanced so much now that it has become a really accessible entry point for people to start making music, which is a very good thing. Positive thing.
You definitely see that more now, I think, as well, and people being able to share the tunes or being able to buy a guitar, not only write a tune, they're able to record a tune and put some out there, or without even having a particular musical bone in your body to play an instrument, you could make a top class beat or a song, which I think is inspiring itself.
It's on the go as well, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's not like, you're not like, when Ryan brought a Mac to the table and stuff like that, I was like, I think I still had a piece here or something like that. It was a while ago. I was like, what the fuck? I'm still waiting for it to turn on now. And it's the fact that you can do it in your bedroom or whatever, or then you can go and take it to the studio. You could even, like, I think I was speaking to Ryan about this the other day, like listening to J. Cole and stuff like that. He has a studio on his tour bus set up, so when he's on tour, he's recording his next album.
Yeah,
it's like so efficient. It's so efficient, and it's like,
Yeah, 1975 did that as well.
right, okay.
But you've got to, because like I say, the amount of hours we've wasted in a bus. You know,
exactly.
all we could do is like play FIFA or read, and then it does make absolute sense. And that was a kind of thing for me as well. It was my way of making music using other instruments and sounds, but something I could do in my own time, in my own space. So I could put some drum beats down, I could put the bass down, I could play guitar. I think it helps being multi-instrumentalist as well. And then you can just sort of develop it. And
it's a good point, actually, Ryan. Just interrupt you there. Multi-instrumentalist. It kind of brings it out of you a little bit, doesn't it? You have to be adaptable with it, and it kind of, you're learning new skills. You're not just stuck to. I mean, that might be a bad thing, because it might, if you're not focused on one instrument and stuff like that, you might never master any of it. But at the same time, for me, it's rhythm-wise and drum beat-wise and going with my vocals, and that has really, really helped. Like timing-wise, because you sat playing to a click all the time, and you're doing this. I don't have a MIDI keyboard at the minute, so I'm just like on my actual keyboard. But the timing-wise, it's like you have to be starting to get good at timing, because you're practicing. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's a good point as well. Is that do you remember the first time? I remember the first time going into a recording studio. That was with the Tides. And prior to that, I'd never really recorded other than just like bits of stuff in college. But yeah, having the ability to practice that. I mean, some bands go into the studio and have never played to a clip before. That's not a bad thing. It's just like the opportunity never arises.
I was 100%.
Put me under. Yeah.
It's that moment where obviously
whack it out your ear. Get out of here. Get out.
What's this thing in me out of time? This is not in time. Put it back into time. Talk that sort of stuff. I remember going in as a young lad, obviously, and you're just going from playing in a rehearsal room, or in your loft or wherever you might be, and then going into a studio to record a first, professional song or whatever at that stage. When that click come about, it was just, what is this? What's this knocking on in my head non-stop? I'm not playing this song, but
I love that. You said that was out of time.
But yeah, of course, because arguing against it. Well, I've been playing guitar for 3 months. I should know exactly what was going on. But it wasn't just touching on that. Not to digress too much, but that was exactly a learning journey into actually this is how you've got to be able to play your music in time to be able to understand how to play your songs properly, because you've got a song but you're not even playing your own song properly, and it makes you realise, crap, I've got to develop this song even more than what it kind of was. So it taught me a lot in terms of just that sort of etiquette in writing and singing and stuff. But it was a funny time, like you said, when you first did it. Like, well, that was for me anyway.
It's really good to see, though. I think one of the most magical parts of starting a band is when the band first goes into the studio, and then they'd have their next rehearsal after recording, or have the next gig after recording, and usually it's like 10 times better. Just from them listening back to everything, and I was that. My bands were like the same. It was like you could just, everything was 10 times better after you've been in the studio.
There's a reverse of that as well, right? Where we learn as well is going. A lot of touring bands do this. Is where you go on tour and you're that shit up because you've been playing the songs every single night. You're all in sync and stuff like that. Walloping the tour out the way and then going straight in the studio because you're on it. You know what I mean? And stuff.
We were blessed really with the amount of time we were given at Black Barn with Paul Weller. Well, by Paul Weller. 100%. When I look back at that now, that's really where we learned our crafts as recording.
I learned how to fail
musicians.
Well from them because it was like I wasn't very confident, and literally I found out all my flaws in that place where it was like I got to for this band especially, I got to get a lot of that out of the way. So like I said to Denny and stuff like that when he was a bit try and give you confidence when you're in the studio on that, Dennis. Like, don't, because I see him being in a similar situation to what I was in then, when it's the spotlight's on. Because I've gone through that. Going into the studio now is, I stopped looking forward to going to the studio, and I love the studio because I was worried about that and I didn't feel confident. Now I go into the studio, I'm so excited because I'm like, right, I know how to get the best. Well, still learning, but at the same time, I know a sweet spot where I can go in now, and I'm like, I'm on the road straight away. And even if I struggle, it takes me a few times, I know that I'll get there. You know what I mean? So it's
exactly.
Ryan, definitely.
Was that your because I don't really heard much about that session. I don't think then. What stage of life was that for you? Had you done much recording before that, or was that your real sort of first proper professional recording session where you actually took that away from it? I guess I don't know when was that.
We've done a few. Like Manana's, we did a lot of
studio,
sessions.
did it in Rochdale. Was it Studio?
Yeah, Eve Studios.
Eve Studios was the one.
That was an experience as well, because that is like a really independent, unique studio, and we went in there, and I remember we recorded our track live, as you know, that's the way it used to be. And that was a really good experience. But we did 64 takes of one track.
It did.
But it was a pleasurable experience. It was like it was beneficial to do that. So that was, you know, a way of doing it that we all learned, and it sounded really unique.
I think it is. And what you were kind of alluding to before, Ryan, around coming out of the studio, being able to play and perform the songs that much better. It's kind of you going into the studio to record your song. You're actually at that stage, I suppose, in that sort of a bit more of an amateur stage. You're going into to a degree to learn your own tunes, to properly learn how to play your own songs that you've kind of written to that best quality is what I kind of found and learned along the way with it.
Definitely.
I like studios that, because like you just said there, Luke, you go in to play your song, obviously, but you're going in there to craft the sound that you wanted as well, and you might not have had that opportunity. You know, if you're a young musician, you can only afford one bass and one bass amp. Like I like studios where they bring something to the table in terms of the instruments or amps or guitar pedals, and I think while we were down at Weller's place, that was like a bit of a playground, because there was all sorts of instruments knocking around, different basses, different amps, an array of options, really. And it was kind of a way of going, hey, well, this is the song, but like we could actually craft our sound here as well. And we really did. Like we how many times do you reckon we were down there, Sid? And for how long?
We had about 48 tunes banked, didn't we? We've been down there that long. We go down whatever opportunity we got. I mean, like I said, very grateful for him to give us that opportunity where it's like we got a really good deal. We had an engineer when we were down there, a place to stay when we were down there.
We were so lucky with that.
Yeah, man, and it was great. Like you said, we learned a lot about the studio then. We didn't learn a lot about releasing tunes because we never fucking released them. But it's like, that came next, I think. I'm still trying to do that with, but yeah, that was a great experience.
Yeah, we're very lucky to. I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, definitely.
That's class.
Yeah.
I think with that, moving on to where you are now in terms of going to the studio, like you've just said, it's totally our kind of comfort zone, I guess, for this particular band. And I think I've found in previous bands, touching on that, is that it's a bit of a scarier place, I suppose, to go. But I feel like our process down there, particularly with Matt being able to get the best out of everyone like he does and being able to form that extra member of the band, it's such a zen place to be, I guess. When things are going well, obviously things can go wrong and it's not as a smooth sailing. You know, obviously people are losing their minds with some stuff, but it's a pleasure to have that and to see how different, I suppose, life was before I suppose doing it with you boys and doing it professionally and doing it in this particular way. So it's been very pleasurable, also a journey that's taught me a lot as well.
100%, man. I agree. Completely agree.
Thank you.
What's the break?
Water break. Pause.
Should we talk about the catering experiences in the studio and rank them out of 10?
Yeah, 100%.
Studio.
I think the Christmas dinner has got to be number 10.
Oh, the Christmas dinner was an absolute winner. That was great.
That winter session, didn't it? That completely, it was like getting a hug as you're going into your.
You need decent meals. Like James is good for it in our band because he's a good cook. There's like a lot of good cooks in this band now, but James tends to get to push to James because James gets his drum takes out the way, doesn't he? And then he's like, and everyone's like, well, James has got nothing to do, so right, James is cooking tonight.
I was going to say that you'd say there's a lot of good cooks in this band, but we'd pretty much force James to cook every single night, like it'd be and lunch. James when's lunch was doing a drum take, yeah, but lunch has got to be for half one because I'm starving.
It's so important.
He would make some absolute corking meals. And Tommy'd always love his, this is where I find my love for it, and I've just had it actually before we come on this chat before the show, was avocado on toast.
Oh my God, it's like a necessity down there.
My God,
non-stop.
Literally 4 or 5 avocados getting bought every day just to sit on windowsill to ripen. So thanks Tommy G for that. But that's going up there for me as a personal because it's still in my life now.
That's 1+ point, yeah, but the avocado situation down there, I think it's on everything. Avocado on everything. There's like bread, avocado and onion, avocado. Avocado with. Has anyone had avocado with a bag of crisps? Yeah. No, there's no avocados left ever, and there's no bags of crisps left. Tommy, we got a 50-pack of crisps. They're gone within the first day. Tommy Jesus walking around. The trails are on.
Literally was, and I used to love it to get to a point of the session where after there for a week or 10 days, or you'd be 3 days in, you'd be going, Tom, how many bags of crisps you had today? And it's like, I had 4. But then you're waiting to ask him by the 6th day. He might have had like 8 within the morning or something.
Where's Tommy G? Oh, there he is. There he is. It's great, man. It's great.
Multi-pack a day.
That was great. It's a good ongoing one. But going back to the food element of when we were cooking, when it was left to people who couldn't cook, and I won't go into any names and embarrass anybody, when it left to those people in the band.
Who you insinuating?
Well, I'm ready here. I'm ready. He's coming at me here.
No, I'm keeping names, and I'll let you make the decision of why I'm not mentioning any names, because I might have played a party to it with one particular person. But we were sick of having beans on toast and sick of having whatever we're having, and we just thought, well, we've got some beans. We just have a bowl of beans with a chopped up cheese string in the middle.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God, one of the best meals I've ever had.
That was lunch one day. Beans and a cheese string inside. That's what happened when it were left to people of that caliber.
There's your warning. If anyone ever wants to, was I involved in that? I remember eating it and being proud of it. So I don't know. Was I involved?
Proud of it?
You shouldn't be proud of it. No way.
You weren't happy, Ryan. I remember.
Pretty sure it was me and Ryan.
I don't care. If you've spent hours preparing a meal and it isn't good, I will tell you it's not good. There's no excuses for bad meals.
No, there's not.
I don't care about hurting anyone's feelings. If the food isn't right, you're getting sold.
Socially, it makes or breaks bands, the cookie situation, doesn't it? That's why it's been brought up.
Yeah. I think if we didn't have James, though, we probably would starve to death.
We won't be in this band. We would not be in this band anymore. Imagine that. When everyone gets a little angry about half 6, half 7, the Chinese is taking an hour and a half to order. No one wants to go pick it up.
Always a fiasco. Who's going to van to get Chinese? Oh, just go and get it. About 45 bags.
I think it's always me who has to go as well.
Yeah.
It is. I time my vocal takes perfectly. I'm just like, right, okay, well, Chinese is getting ordered then. So I'll Matt, can I do my vocal take around 7:30, please, mate? It is. But yeah, good fun.
No, that is class. It is a funny thing is the cooking business and the Chinese business. When Matt, just to give that a mention where you stole Matt's lemon chicken.
Oh yeah, no.
Was it his?
Oh.
And then Matt, I hope you're watching. Sid's still not lived this down yet. I don't know if he still accepted full responsibility for it, because at the time he was a bit edgy, he was a bit rubbing it off a bit,
Was it Squid?
Was it Squid? Yeah, it was Squid, wasn't it? Salt and pepper Squid.
It was
And then
replaced.
you couldn't even eat it.
Oh my God. Yeah, that ruined the night.
That really tickled me.
But yeah.
That really tickled me.
What music are you listening to at the minute, Luke?
I suppose a mixture of everything really. I'm like it all at once. There's no particular artist that I'm listening to, I guess, at the minute. It's just I love going on release radar on Spotify and having a listen to every different sort of type of music that's coming out, and if it's good, you know, you'll remember and dive into that band, which I kind of enjoy doing, and building up, you know, playlists of people that you don't really know and you think that other people really don't know, but they're not kind of out there. So kind of like doing that. So I can't really say who, because I'll leave it to the powers that be on those release radars, but no one in particular, to be honest, at the minute, mate.
Is that how you tend to find new music these days then?
Yeah, I went through a tough time a couple of years ago, not really being able to get out of a rut of listening to the same stuff. And like, I think I had Deezer, listened to music on Deezer, on Gaz Barker's Deezer. He lent me sign into his, and at that point it was quite new, and I was just it was just like writing in bands and picking out bands that you want to listen to. And I got in a rut of just listening to the same thing, and then finding playlists on Spotify, and the fact that it'll able to trigger stuff that you sort of, you know, things that are like what you listen to, was kind of a bit of an eye-opener. And once I realised that, was quite late on, really. I know it's a thing now, it's been happening ages, but it was something that sort of allowed me to get into something else, and being able to share that and talk about that particular track or that particular artist and delve into understanding them. And I kind of still do that now, but probably not as often as I'd like to, particularly in this environment that I'm in now with you know, all this Carry On. I'm not going to go into talking about the Carry On, but I always love listening to music on my commutes or walking about or in a car, on a train, and that kind of stuff. And I find inspiration being completely on your own in that respect, especially walking with music. There's nothing better. So yeah, I think that's where I got most of my sort of influences from as well. Coming into this band, to be fair, to start with, there was a lot of stuff knocking about that I started listening to, especially into the sort of R&B, rap and hip hop sort of genre, which we kind of all got into. But prior to that, I listened to some sort of house tunes. I went into some sort of quiet house tunes. I was like, whoa.
House music? What type of house music?
I never really spoke about that with them. I don't know what it was, because I'm not sort of I'm not big into it. It was just kind of very light house music, but melodic. Like there was vocals in it, and that's when I first had a go on GarageBand on the iPad. That's the kind of tunes that I was enjoying to do, were tunes like that. And I don't know why I went through a nice period of listening to that kind of music.
Spotify, there's the positives straight away. I think it takes you down. It can send you down dead ends and stuff like that. But at the same time, when playlists and stuff, you can kind of really suit your taste to what you like, can't you? And stuff. And the knock-on tunes where I just let a tune run sometimes, and then it'll, like, if there'll be a tune I really want to listen to, I'll put that on, and then the next tunes after that are related, and it just bounces about, and I'm just like, oh yes, I forgot about this one and stuff like that. And yeah, I discovered quite a bit through that. But yeah, man.
I don't know why. I don't know why, but yeah, that's kind of it. I don't know if that's like, I don't know where I was going to go with that. So that's good.
What's on your question sheet?
We can't open question sheet, Ryan, can we?
We'll just have what did you want to discuss?
Well, I wanted to get in a little bit out of sort of briefly, again, not going into too much detail of it, but the ideas behind what we're doing and letting people know and understand and get close to a bit more our picture, I suppose, that we're setting up on social media, within our lyrics, within our songs, and the story and the world that we're kind of creating. Because I think that's a really interesting thing that we're doing, and we're still learning and we're still understanding. And you've done a lot of work yourself studying films, and it's something you love, Sid, is films and script writing, and all together we've had some crazy mad ideas about where this can go, and we sort of drip feed that through our socials. So I suppose just an understanding of where that idea first came from, I guess, for us all, but mainly, where did that spring from in your mind to create this kind of world or have this alongside music, I guess?
Again, this came from, I think, me and Ryan early on. Me and Ryan love films, and we used to go and watch a lot of films together. Now we're in this music world, and that's what we kind of done. And I remember us meeting up after the last band stopped, and it was kind of like, right, if we're going to do this, it needs to be different then, because I think we were both a little bit sick of doing the same thing. And then I just thought at the time, again, I think it just probably came up in conversation. It was like, well, we can mix the film and the music world together. There's no reason why we can't do that. We love them both, very passionate about them both. How do we do that? I don't know. We have the tools to be able to do that nowadays. You can delve in the film world. I mean, we're doing all our own social media is all coming from us. The videos and that we're outreaching because, again, we're limited on knowledge, but we're learning from friends, really, aren't we? You know what I mean? We've got Cam doing a music video for Blue Skies. We've got Joe who's done a music video for Shaolin. But yeah, it's just based on a story. We kind of, through learning about stuff like marketing, as you can see, all this kind of stuff, like the more you learn about it, the more you want to be kind of transparent with it, because it can easily lead to manipulation. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. But I love the side of marketing that talks about story making and stuff like that, and building a story for your brand, I suppose, which is what it is. Like,
yeah, I think that's powerful. And when that came up, did it discuss sort of having that umbrella and having that sort of thing guiding us, I guess, was really sort of inspiring and interesting for us all, I guess, to get involved in.
Well, story doesn't necessarily, I mean, we're taking on a bit, I think I took it literally at the time, and that's why we are actually doing a story. But at the same time, I mean, I've always wanted to do that. That's something I love story, and I love films, and I love all that. But like, story can be as simple as, so like, say Billie Eilish's story, that is, she wears these big unfeminine clothes, big baggy clothes. That's her story, so people relate to kind of that as being her story, and that's her thing. Like, empowering women is a big thing of hers and stuff like that. And it's like, I was thinking about it. We had this idea from, like I said, when I was younger, seeing this Love, Peace, Anarchy sign, the one day thing. It's always been in my head. And it turned into a philosophy early on in the band through chats with like Matt, our producer, and that. It was kind of like, oh, there's something more to this. And it's try to get that, the meaning of the aim towards what you love, find peace in action, face the anarchy yourself, try to understand what that actually means first, which is what we're doing now, and we're putting it out there in front of people, because I don't want to say that any of this is perfect, and it's all changing all the time. It's not right yet. The process is where we're finding the meaning, and that is, we're taking people along for that process. If anyone wants to come, basically, that's kind of our whole ethos. Same with the story. We started this world, LOAstate, which is basically just like, I suppose it's kind of, it's obviously it was done before this lockdown thing happened and stuff like that. With the idea was already there, and the way we'd set up the marketing was already kind of all lockdown based and stuff like that. I mean, it's kind of like this overprotected state, like this kind of false utopia where life seems perfect, like people have what they want, everything that they want, but it's not, because when you have everything you want, you lose purpose, and mental health kicks in. You become nihilistic, you become narcissistic and stuff like that. And it's kind of, it's creeping into reality. We see it out all the time. You see it on Instagram and stuff like that. There's a dark side to it, and I think we're just what the kind of aim is with this state and this world and these characters and stuff that we're creating is just to kind of hold a mirror up to society and say, look, this is how it is, or this is how we see it.
Yeah.
Do you relate? Do you have any questions about it? Do you disagree? Like, we're not bothered about. We're not saying we're right either. You know, it's just kind of like, this is how we want to express ourselves. This is how we see the world, and this is how we're going to kind of put it out there.
Yeah, and I think it put that really well in terms of talking you through that process and reasons why, and I think it's helped. It's helped us even more sort of creatively as we sort of hear a tune. We can sometimes think that it represents that world or it represents that idea. We know that's an LOAstate tune, and I think that mixes in with this ideology of the different world that we're kind of creating.
Yeah,
so like you said,
again, Jay said ideology and stuff like that. I think we want to be for stuff that I read in ideology is a bit, because it means that everything's down to one thing. I think we're a lot more complex than it just being down to one thing, as you can see, because we get so stressed about everything and stuff. Yeah. I'm trying to understand what an ideology is and stuff.
That might have been a wrong word, or the
I get it. Yeah, it's come from an idea, but we don't want it just to be about that one idea. I don't think, because then everything will be about that thing when it's more. I think it's more. But again, you can see how I'm still trying to understand these words and stuff and what they mean. But I think you said a good point there. Yeah, I think a lot of the reason for getting it all into one thing of being the story is because before, Ryan, and you'll agree, in the bands previously, the whole we never really had an identity in these bands. It was always kind of tunes weren't linking. It was very sporadic, and there would be a country song about one thing, there'd be something about another thing, and this has kind of allowed us to have not a point of view, point of focus in a way, where it's like, right, okay, so the tunes are about this society, what's going on there, we're countering mental health there, meaning crisis is happening there because people don't have a purpose, which is there's a meaning crisis now, which I've learned recently, that's directly linked to the mental health crisis, and it's kind of like, right, so that's what we're singing about, that's our topic, that's our theme that's going to run throughout this, and that's kind of really, really helped, especially with writing now, because it's kind of like, if Ryan will send me a beat or something, it's like, right, okay, so I'll get a melody and stuff like that, and then it's like, well, I know the topic, I know what I'm going to sing about here now. It's not like I'm sat there for hours wondering, what can this song be about, heartbreak or something like that, which it can be, that's fine.
Yeah.
Same time, it's like, it's heartbreak in this world, so how can we make it so it's a bit more sinister and a bit more like our world? So say like, same as you is kind of like that song that's coming out is like the darker side of love. What I Do for Love is the darker side, like there's a twist on it and stuff like that. Friends, the breaking of a relationship of friends, that's got a dark, sinister tone to it. It's all kind of matching what's going on in that world, but taking influence from, reality.
I think as well, the reason why it's all well and good saying that is our message, but I think we have to understand why we came to that conclusion. I think it's because we thankfully went through that ourselves and discovered this sort of these messages ourselves via different forms of media, books, films, podcasts, and it was like it resonated with me so much, and it was like, it's going to sound a bit like precocious, but I was like, I really know someone who would benefit from hearing this message as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, so we felt like we had to share the message for people, like who could relate to a lot of it and go, oh God, that this person really could benefit from knowing this sort of stuff as well. And I think that's what triggered us then to do it.
Yeah.
It was like using our form of art to get that message out there in an understandable way as well. So for people who might not necessarily read or, look into these things themselves, we could give them that message.
Yeah, that's a very good way of putting that, Ryan, to be fair, because I remember being at Granada and having a similar conversation to that. How do we carry this message that we want? Because it was, and like you said, Sid, you know, it's anchored about what sort of lyrics that we write and go into, because it's anchored to that particular thing, what we're writing about, exactly what you just said. So I think with us being able to keep going back to that and relying on that, it's only going to strengthen that message. But in terms of carrying a message and being able to get, like Ryan said, people might not read, or people might not watch particular documentaries, or people might not have access to this information because they don't know about it, or they don't know that it exists, or people talk or about this kind of stuff. And I think I was having a good chat with on Instagram with Peter Abrams, is it?
Yeah.
And he reached out to us in terms of what we're doing and the message that we're doing. He said something interesting which matched us. Is he wanted to look at, he's obviously done TED Talk, he's wrote a book, he talks about, he talks to me about looking at how could he carry that message any differently, how could he get the people that's not going to be sat in a lecture room or sat reading a book, how could he get that across to other people? And that was in a form of music, which I think is really powerful. And again, it goes back to meaning, of us having meaning in this band to do something. We always wanted to not just be about a band that's writing songs and music for your ears. We wanted it to be something more substantial and have substance for you to think about. And if that could help you in that particular day change something or think a different way, which I think is quite a bit that we think about.
I agree, mate. I think for me, it's getting people to engage. It's like, it's not just, we're in a band, come and listen to us, this is what we're doing. It's more like opening up the conversation. It's getting people involved. So it's like the band and the audience are one, and it's kind of like that's a big thing for us. It's like this is what the 87 Club is. It's kind of, it's getting the fans to be part of the story. So the 87 Club obviously it's just a collection of just individuals who want to basically do better and who are ready for change, and who are kind of like, who want to get the shit together, who want to, but have never been told that they can.
Yeah.
Don't know how strong they actually are, because we are, as human beings, we are strong. We have been through some shit as a race. You know what I mean? And it's like, there's a great book by Viktor Frankl. It's called Modern Man in Search of Meaning, or something like that, or In Search of Soul. I'm not sure, but he was in a concentration camp in Nazi Germany, and he talks about how...
I think, did you tell me to read this? Yeah. Or did you tell me I listened to it?
Didn't you?
Yeah, I started the audio book.
He said, like, to stop himself, the people obviously around him were dying all the time and they were losing their minds and stuff like that. And he said the one, he had to find meaning in there. He had to find a purpose. He had to live each day, like, and find, not to say goals or targets, but he had to find meaning of how he could spend that day. So he was giving and
getting some sort of fulfillment, I guess, from it.
Yeah, just a purpose, meaning, mate. Just finding meaning in such a horrible situation for someone to be going through that, and he survived, whereas a lot of people didn't, because they just give up. Which obviously, why, imagine, you can't even imagine being in that situation. But it's like, if that's happening there, and then you're suffering in the real world, and you're looking at your life and you're thinking, well, who am I? I don't have anything. I'm not doing anything. I don't have anything to look forward to. I don't have any hobbies. I don't have any goals or aspirations, which happens. I've found myself in them situations before. It's then thinking, right, well, okay, what do I like? What do I enjoy doing? How can I help? How can I maybe give back? And just taking little steps every single day, just maybe stepping in. You don't have to do it all at once, because it's scary. It is really scary. And it's like I say, it is scary, and it does bring pain when you're going towards a goal, because there's a lot of disappointments, a lot of things you have to learn, and a lot of bad, like, we face some shit, don't we? And it's like, you have to face this thing, but then if you don't do it, you're still going to face pain. You're in pain anyway. So would you rather have that pain where you're going towards a goal, or would you have the pain of just sitting around doing nothing?
Yeah.
You're going to have pain either way. So it's kind of like deciding, right, okay, well, I am going to have pain anyway. And that's us trying to encourage, that's trying to give an encouraging message out there, which is through the 87. It's like, no, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to encourage each other here now. We're going to create a little community where it's like, no, we're going to have each other's backs. And that's kind of where that is and stuff.
Yeah, and I think, I'm relating to exactly what you've just said to a conversation we had a couple of weeks ago, and the conversation we've had a lot is around that encouragement piece. That sort of one of our campaigns early on for the releases we've done were around just removing self-doubt, stepping into the unknown, and really trying to get the feeling across that that's kind of what we were doing at that time, and still do every day. We're always stepping into something that you don't really know in terms of creativity when we're creating. But that, for me, is such a powerful message that resonates and can resonate with so many people, because there is that something that people have got and they've got that want to do, but it's masked by that self-doubt, and I think it's masked by judgment, but it's also masked by not having any encouragement. Encouragement is a positive thing. Them other two things are seen as negative, as self-doubt and unknown, because it's
you can't give yourself courage.
You can't. Yeah, exactly. So
this is a big thing. Sorry, Ryan, we'll go to you in a second. Your understanding of this, and because I know this is kind of where we've all connected on the stepping into the unknown and stuff like that. It really struck home with us all, I think, hearing that. But what was I going to say there? What was I going to say? I forgot what I was going to say.
That's happened to me. That's 1-1. We just need Ryan to do it, and we've completed an hat-trick.
Yeah.
And started off well. That's great. I'm happy with that. 1 each.
I'll come back to me, because this is I've gone into scare mode now. I'm about to run off. I feel like I want to jump out the window.
That's amazing. That's how I felt. I just wasn't that honest about it earlier. It's great. But no, going back, and I think it's interesting to hear everyone's point of view, because I think we all were in it together at that particular point. But yeah, Ryan, what kind of the message, I guess, for you, like you've touched on before, is it something that, I don't know, you kind of connected with personally, or is it a message that you kind of believe in, or what's your kind of, I don't know, understanding of the message or representation of the message, I guess? Keep saying I guess at the end of thing. Why do I keep doing that? Is that something I've just started doing? I guess.
You're guessing.
I'm asking a question. I'm guessing what question I'm asking. Is stupid. Anyway, yeah. Now I'm gonna run off. Ryan, come on, save us both now.
I don't know. I'm trying to. I was just basically buying time then. Big question to answer, that isn't it?
I was giving you it by rattling on, but no, it doesn't have to be that deep.
The importance of the message.
Yeah, or your representation of it, or what you kind of see it being. And the importance, I guess.
I think the importance of it for me when we first started off was that these sort of messages weren't getting airtime in areas where people, which had the most audiences, if that makes sense. And it felt like a lot of people who weren't expert, and I'm not saying we're experts whatsoever, because we're not, we're just passing on a message from experts.
Yeah.
But like the experts, we're not, when you see debates on TV and they might bring someone on Question Time or Newsnight, we'll bring this guy on for a 5-minute interview for him to communicate his 40 years worth of experience and research. And then what we'll do, we'll get a presenter who's not an expert or not a scientist or not a doctor, and get them to challenge his opinion, which isn't an opinion. It's scientifically based research. And what that kind of opened my eyes to me was that there's a lot of people out there with power in the sense of Instagram influencers who really, I think that's quite a weak term for them. They're actual influencers, full stop. They're influencing young people who've got Instagram. But all they're doing is like dressing semi-naked and putting a picture of them on holiday. It's like, this isn't healthy at all, and we really need to be getting these guys, and like the whole podcasting media format that's come out, and that's gaining traction. And obviously we can't let the recent deal with Joe Rogan and Spotify go without a mention here, but having experts come on to his show, and he sometimes does like 3 shows a day, and has 2-hour conversations with people, and actually lets them go into detail about stuff that's really important, and it's an education that people just won't get. They don't get it whether they're going to school, they don't get it in college, they don't get it on TV or on the radio, and it's like, this is really important, and people really need to open their eyes to the stuff that's going on. But that's the message for me, and the importance of getting that message out. And it's hopefully just to introduce people to this sort of counterculture of education.
It's like spoken words back, and it's like we lost that connection through social media and stuff. Everyone was complaining about it, saying, "Oh, everyone just speaks in text now. No one talks and stuff like that." All of a sudden, there's been a reaction to that, and now with podcasts and stuff like that, now it's really started to open up again. And then it's just natural to humans to tell stories. It's all campfire stuff, and it's all around the campfire. The Joe Rogan thing is just there's things called shamans or shamans. Basically, that's what the whole idea, the premise of the show is. You get these people, like you said, masters and experts. So they're kooky people, a lot of them. Kooky, I've never said that word before. But they kooky people, a lot of them. But at the same time, they're coming with their knowledge and experience of the world, their truth of the world, putting it out there for debate with Joe, who I don't know if you agree with it, but he does. Joe does have his own kind of way, and he will challenge. It's not always. I don't know if you agree with this, Ryan, because I think we might have talked about this, but to me, I don't think he's walked over easily. I think he will put up a barrier, which is needed, because you don't want just a one-sided argument all the time and stuff like that, because you don't learn anything in that. Do you agree there, Ryan?
I really like I think it's just my observation, so it's not founded on anything, but I think for some reason they've not felt quite what they used to feel like listening to his shows. I think it's because of this deal. And it's obviously, from what I've read online, the purpose of this deal was to kind of prevent him from being censored from YouTube and Google. Because it got to a point there where he couldn't show YouTube videos or audio from YouTube videos or certain guests that he had on, which would have caused him maybe to have got shadow banned, I think it's called, or all this sort of stuff, or demonetized. And that's bad, because you should be able to speak freely and open about things, even if some people may find that offensive. And obviously that's one of Jordan Peterson's message.
You'd have to have the right to offend. Like, one person's offence is another person's banter. It's like we can't. This is the overprotective thing. It's like we're trying to overprotect people too much, whereas, like I said, we're stronger than we think. You know what I mean? We don't have to. We can say no. I'm not going to get offended to that. And I appreciate oppression in the past and stuff like that. And in certain areas, it probably is still happening a lot more than it is to say me. That's not my fault. Like, I was born here. I can't help that. You know what I mean? But at the same time, before I kind of got into a lot of this stuff, I was kind of feeling really guilty and down for being who I was, as like just maybe I am if you live in the West, you're basically a person of privilege, like, no doubt about it, because if you look at some places of the world, they have far less than me and a lot of people in this country. So, like, bringing that back round to our message is kind of, as a person of the West, you're going to be struggling. A lot of people are still struggling. But if we become this finger pointing, blame culture of just pointing at everyone else's problems out, telling everyone else what they should be doing with their lives. What are you doing with your life? How are you trying to make it better? How are you exercising your right of privilege of living in your semi-detached house with your iPhone and your iPad and stuff like that, complaining about how there's poor people around and going to your new gods, the government, pseudo-religion shite, expecting them to fix the world when they can't. They're human. They fail all the time. They fail all the time. They're rubbish because they're human. We're all rubbish. We're absolutely rubbish. But what can you do? How can you, if you can spot that problem as a human being with solution makers, how can you help? What can you do? Let's encourage that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that I agree with that.
I really like that.
The system's set up to just fail. You know, you're talking about governments and stuff. They're given like 4 years in term or 5 years in term to come in and basically turn the ship around and then get the ship going in a direction that they want it to. And then all of a sudden, then there's another political circus, and everybody drags out their colours again, and they just forget about them now. For as soon as the elections were done in December, everyone just that's it. Yeah, move on now. What next?
Yeah,
it's something that's always kind of wound me up to a degree, and I've never really related massively to politics. I know it's around, and I understand the debates, I understand the concerns of the world and stuff, and it goes back to that opinion and not knowing what's right and wrong and trying stuff and failing. But what's really annoyed me, and it's a pointless statement, I guess, is what I'm about to say, because it'll never happen. I mentioned it to you, Sid, before. It's just the fact that we have that, like Ryan said, it's set up to fail, and it's the fact that we have two parties or two main parties. You can have 3 or 4 main parties that are all arguing the toss about what's right, and we believe in doing that, but you've got to do it this way, or we don't believe in doing that, so we've got to do this, and it's constant, and we have to then choose which side we're on. As that happens when you're a kid and who your family support, and we're supporting these people straight away. It's like we're born into a game or born into a monopoly sort of thing. You've got to, and my arching point for this, which will never happen in an ideal world, is just a group of people that want to make these things that we know that are issues better as a one whole unit, as opposed to having different. It's like football, a different team to support to be able to go on and do it. Look how angry people get at football. I love football, but if you're supporting one football club and you're supporting another football club, and they don't like it, it's very tribal, mate. Yeah, very sort of. It gets angry. There's fights around football hooliganism and stuff, and people get in school picked on and bullied for what team. But I think it's that I really have. I imagine a lot of people don't like it, don't agree with it. What can you do about it? But just
that book I lent you, Denny. I don't know if you've got around to it. That The Righteous Mind, that Jonathan Haidt book, where he talks about.
I started it in my previous. I've not finished it. I started it.
Talks about the elephant being you and the rider sat on top.
This is where I get most of my knowledge from. It's through when Sid reads a book and then he tells me about it for about a year. Then I tell you all wrong. I don't have to read the book, so Sid's the author of my life. But yeah, and that's the elephant and rider analogy. I remember being on Ancoat Square when you talked to me about learning that before you give me the book.
Not to detract from the actual what you were talking about there. In that book, he talks about why people vote on certain sides, and it's down to, well, he claims, and it sounds right, but he says it's down to personality. So if you look on the left, the whole marketing of the Labour Party in our country is all marketed towards care and fairness. So you'll see their market. How can you explain this? I don't want to go too deep into it because again. We're into art, politics and art. They're awkward with each other, and I don't want to become a political band at all. I'm just like maybe pointing people in the right direction where you can get a better understanding. But he says why Conservatives vote certain ways, why Labour votes certain ways and stuff like that. Why you tend to lean left or right and stuff like that. I found out from that I am more of a centralist kind of in a way when it comes to politics. I've stepped out of it now. I'm looking down on it to see what is going on here. Why are they arguing all the time? Like I said, it's become very tribal when really it should be the best interest of the.
That's.
But at the same time, you try and make everyone happy within this group. So how are you supposed to do it for the public?
Yeah. And it's a good point to sort of finish that with. You try and make everybody happy, I guess, and try and think about. I mean, it is personality to a degree because you want to be that one that's come up with that idea, or it's got that ethos that people believe in and carry. Whether or not you can actually do it or not is another question in some cases. But I think that's right in what that book says about that.
Leave it at that then. So, but just to recommend, it's called The Righteous Mind by Jonathan Haidt, Haidt. I think it's spelt strangely. But there's stuff on YouTube and stuff by him, like a TED Talk and that. The Moral Matrix is his kind of thing he's laying down, but it's well worth checking out if you're struggling with politics and why it is the way it is and why it is kicking off and why one friend might vote for them and one friend might vote for another. It gives you a really good objective.
It
Objective.
allows you to stand out and look,
Yeah.
like kind of you said, you'll be able to look at it objectively. Yeah,
man. Good. What's next on the agenda, Master Denvers?
Don't know. Could talk about all sorts. No, I think how long have we been going for?
What do you mean on the video or?
Go on to the last chapter now, mate. We'll just I don't think we rush for time with these things anymore. I think we just put it all out there.
No, not at all.
No, I agree. That's what I mean. I could be here for hours.
Yeah. Should we talk about? I tell you what would be really interesting to talk about is culture and the cultural sort of side of what we're doing and fashion and.
Yeah, man, that's good. That's good.
And how our identities have changed, maybe.
We got a few little questions from people wanting to know about that. So that's a good one to start, because we put a question up, asking people who are enjoying the videos, and a few people sent questions in, and one of them was the style of the overall band and how it was curated, music equipment used. So we'll go with that first point there, the style of the overall band and how that was created. Is that right, Ryan? Is that what you're talking about?
So we inherited 15 million tons of black material.
Yes, I could start on the black thing though. For me personally, was because we were getting into Young in the Shadow and representing that, and also the fact that I used to wear a different set of clothes, a different personality in clothing every 6 months. I changed. I got sick to death of doing that. Sick to death of trying to think of something to wear every day for about an hour and a half. So then I just went black for me. Right, okay, that's the one. Hoodie, jeans, sorted.
So break that down for everybody then. So start with Young and the integration of the shadow from a Jungian perspective. So
right,
who is Young? It's not Ashley Young.
Ashley Young, yeah. Ashley Young. Carl Jung was a psychologist in the early 20th century. Jordan Peterson kind of led me onto him because he's big on Jung, a big fan of Jung. Carl Jung talks about this thing called the integration of the shadow. Basically, what that is so as you're growing up through your life, there are certain aspects of yourself that you will repress. So say aspects of your personality, that is. So say you were going through school and someone took the piss out of you for something and you thought, oh, well, that's part of myself I can't show anymore. So you bury it down. And that then becomes, later in life, can become, when you react to certain things with anger and out of nowhere, you'll get frustrated and hate. And that's where then that parts of your personality come back up. It's also a thing where, this is just from learning about it the other day, really. So I'm glad we spoke about this, because my knowledge of it is shoddy. So I challenge again everyone to go and check this out and learn about it themselves. But this is my kind of basic knowledge. There's the thing about hate. When you hate something in a person, and you like, so say this guy spoke about this way. He was in uni and they were discussing Jung. That's what the lecture was on. And there was a guy who was a know-it-all in the corner who kept shouting out and stuff like that. He kept. Just a know-it-all basic type. You know the guy. We all met this person.
You know the guy.
Yeah. But he hated him, and he was just like, "God, that guy's annoying me." So after the lecture went on, he said, because they've been talking about Jung and stuff, he just went over to him and said, "Oh, should we go for a beer?" and stuff like that. So we confronted it. He went over to the guy, and now that guy's his best mate, and stuff. And he said, because what you can do is you can project the things you hate on people, usually a lot of the time the things that you hate about yourself, which is really freeing for me. And that's an interesting point. That's more shadow work. And I've noticed that when early days of learning about Jung, I was looking at that a lot, and I was like, why is that person annoying me? Usually it was because they reminded me of the things that I do of myself, and I was like, right, okay, so this is it. So that's my basic knowledge. And for me, I wanted to. It was a Francis in the Light video, Friends. He's wearing all black hoodie and that, black jeans and that. Isaac, our old mate, started wearing black hoodie and that, and I thought, that's cool and that. Francis and the Light. We're all getting into Francis and the Light. I thought that's kind of, that's how can I represent the shadow? That's how I'm going to do it with the old black hoodie and jeans and that. And then I thought that's just going to be this sounds stupid, but you know how fucking Steve Jobs has one outfit. Fucking Facebook Zuckerberg has one outfit. I thought, you know what?
No, you're right.
You know what I mean, Ryan? I wanted to. I aspire to these people because I know the faulty and human again, the rubbish at being people, and they have the nasty side. But to aspire to people who are bringing a lot of value to the world, which they have done. They have done. You know, with Facebook and Apple and that. Kind of like that's how I wanted to do it. But go on.
There's a really good point there, though, because I think we were trying to assemble this sort of form to try and deliver the message. It was like, the people you just touched upon then, you know, iconic people and iconography in itself. So like, I think we referenced like superheroes. They have an identity and it's always consistent. They have obviously their outfit, but Ricky Gervais.
There you go.
Honestly, it's so obvious. There's so many, and it's like, wow, I'd never noticed this before. Where you have this sort of image in your mind of somebody, it's because they've intentionally done that. Like say Steve Jobs with his sort of
Kanye with a polo shirt. He had the polo shirt early on. The pink polo shirt. No one was doing that. That was his identity.
It's to strengthen what people perceive of you, and it keeps it consistent. And the other thing as well, like that, is that there's a psychological twist to this as well. It's called decision fatigue. And because like when you look into why Steve Jobs wore that every day and why Mark Zuckerberg was the same, and it kind of crosses over into like minimalism as well. Yes. And they were saying that it was because, you know, it's one less decision to make every day. And apparently
that's great.
That's the one, man.
He said like there's a finite number of decisions that good decisions a human can make a day. So they were saying that obviously I don't know if it's tongue in cheek, but it's statistically backed up, saying like if that's the first decision you usually make a day, or what I'm wearing.
Yes,
that's a mad point, because I used to hate that before I stepped into the world of what we are and what we're doing, because
the League of Shadows,
the League of Shadows. Like you said, you went through your stages, Sid, of having different clothes. Suppose I was, and it is right, going back to what you just said then, Ryan, around having that decision. I've never thought about it that way, but it is the first decision you're making. Sometimes if you can't decide what you're doing, it becomes a stressful thing, and it can set you up for a fall. So if you do have that thing to step into, that comfort, that being, and then you believing that you want that, it sets you up sort of in your own mind, I guess, as well, in your own.
There's another side slightly to that as well. Exactly. Well, it's not another side. It goes hand in hand again. But the timing it takes you to make that decision and stuff like that. We all, as a species, we complain about not having enough time to do things during the day, like the day's too short and stuff like that. So this is kind of like a little life hack as well, in a way, where it's like, right, okay, so I was spending quite a lot of time thinking what I'm going to wear and stuff like that. I spent a lot of time buying clothes that I probably didn't even wear and stuff like that. How can I save time during my day and stuff so I can do more of the things that I want to do and stuff? And that was a big help for me, because I was far too paranoid around my clothing and my dressing and stuff like that, whereas this was something I think we all kind of discovered around the same time. I don't think this was like necessarily this is how we're doing it. I don't think that decision was ever made. I think we just all kind of naturally thought, oh yeah, this is how we're going to do it. This is us. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy how it's worked.
There is because there is another flip side to that as well, where people love clothes and will wear clothes because it makes them feel better.
Expression of themselves. And
expression of how they feel. And some people might wear different things every day. We should get someone on to discuss this.
Definitely.
It is a really interesting point.
No, man, fashion world.
But for people who may think that it doesn't really matter what you wear, which I think the reason why we've got kind of identified ourselves in the way, just keeping it black, and it almost doesn't become a talking point for us, because we want, it kind of keeps us out of the way. We're not trying to look cool and all this sort of stuff and all this nonsense, but it is so important for society that we don't realize it is, like the difference it will make, like for example uniforms, and like emergency services and stuff. There is a psychological thing there that you're not aware of. Somebody in a suit, it commands power. You don't realize that it does. Someone in a uniform,
big time, man, big time.
It really is. So
that's a really interesting angle to look at that.
Yeah,
mate.
but again,
that's properly interested me now, because it's so relevant, and it can probably relate to a lot of people going through that. And I think there can be a lot of pressures on how people want to appear, or do they want to actually appear a certain way. But the uniform element of it that you've just said, Ryan, has just pricked my ears a bit to think. Actually, there is a reason behind that. There is a uniform. Not just as in what you wear in the uniform of a particular thing, a particular movement, a particular being, a particular product, which can be adaptable into this kind of thing. Yeah.
There's I've never really thought about it this way, but obviously Virgil Abloh's, I think did he work for Nike and stuff? He works for, it's Louis Vuitton now, I think. He's he designs for them now. Stuff, he came from nowhere, which is an amazing story, like friends with Kanye West and that, but it's an art form to him. It's like, he's not just selling clothes. It's like he's expressing who he is through everything he makes. And I'm like, I think it was Off-White or something he was doing before, or maybe still doing that. But it was like, I watch his videos and stuff, and I watch him talking about what he's doing. I'm like, I've never really been massively into fashion. I wanted to dress like I was in the 60s for a very long time. And that was about as far as I got into it. But it's like, watching his stuff and how passionate he is about what he's doing. It's art. There's an art side to it, and that's definitely a bit I want to kind of get into a bit more and stuff like that, and learn more about, and that way of how you express yourself through your fashion. Because obviously we've am I still there?
You're still here, yeah.
I'm still here.
Gone. Yeah, we talk about, we want to make our own little brand and stuff, and make our own like kind of clothing line. That's kind of like a way to go in it, so we can start funding what we're doing, because we don't make money from the music side of it. So how else do we do it and stuff? And we have quite an interesting logo, I think, and an interesting kind of way of doing it. And we have a style. We definitely have a style. It's kind of taking that to the world, isn't it? It's exciting now. It excites me. It does excite me.
We should get someone on to help us understand it better, because we're just rambling about what we all appreciate it and love it.
Yeah,
I love fashion. I think it's there's some real sort of icons out there. But yeah, we should get someone on. See if someone can come talk to us.
We'll make a few calls.
I think so. I think if you comment, if this is what you're interested in and stuff like that, just stick it at the bottom. And with anything that we're talking about, if you want to get involved, if you want to send us direct messages, or you wanting to know what you can do with your life, just message us. And honestly, I enjoy talking about people and their passion and stuff like that, like we're doing now. What they're into and stuff, I really, really like it. So, like I said, just open up the conversation. I'm just looking again. There was a few questions from
people.
I think we touched on. Someone put the Manc music scene, how everyone's friends and stuff like that. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. Because it's indie world still is a bit competitive, which is good, but at the same time, it's like there's not. We love hip hop, don't we? We know that world, and we know how it's about bringing your brothers up with you, and you're getting everyone, your mates, everyone on your tracks,
developing everybody with their different disciplines at the same time.
It's a lot of angst in hip hop world, but they're holding a mirror up to the streets and how they live their life there. So a lot of it is very graphic and detailed, because that kind of shit is going on there. But there's a lot of brotherhood and stuff.
Yeah, there really is, and I think that's something with
the helping everyone's. Come on,
you see the features. You see, look at the albums. You look at the hip hop albums, and you see 3 or 4 people on the same track, and you'll see that across a full album. And I suppose in the indie world, you don't really see that collaboration as much, and that's where I think it's interesting. Obviously, you did the feature on Kashmir's song with Crystals, and that sort of I think it'd be interesting to see a world of where there's guitar music and that kind of music with this sort of element of electronic, where there is a lot more collaboration, because hip hop has influences and it's got us encouraged and it's got us motivated, because you can see that brotherhood on stage. You can, watch Jurassic 5 all the way back in the 90s, from then build up to the game and all sorts. But to see that and feel that, I think it's great. And also getting that inspiration from listening to your favourite rapper, your favourite hip hop artist, and then going down his album and seeing a different name, and you're like, well, that'll open it up to want to go into their music and understand their message and understand what they're doing, because you automatically to go, well, you're singing with my favourite rapper or artist, I want to get to know, understand you, because you must believe in a similar thing or have a similar style or approach. And then you get to all of a sudden you've got this pot of people that you've learned from, and I don't see that maybe happening or happened, to correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know.
Everyone's too busy going, guitar music's dead, it's eating itself alive.
I don't think that, I totally couldn't. That's a good way of looking at it, because there's ways in which it can be resurrected by people coming together to resurrect it and do that. Well, let's do tracks together, let's build on that, let's share, let's do stuff like this and share what we're doing and understand what other people are doing, influence, motivate, the things that we've just talked about doing. I think it'd be amazing to see something like that come to a bit more of a fruition. And we know that we'd be up for that. We've always spoke about looking at who can we feature on a track. On Blue Skies, a shameless plug, 29th of May on Friday coming out. We got Ellen, a good friend from Shadowlight, to do a bit. We've spoke about looking at getting. I think there were talks of young Lazarus from from Yota when we went to see them at Soup Kitchen, and talking about getting him down to the studio to do. But we're well open to that, and we're well open to getting other people on to do that. And I think that's something I would like to see us and other people within this musical forum do now. That's not just in hip hop.
Definitely, mate. That stuff I did, that feature on Joey's track, the Kashmir Band. Such a great thing to do. It felt great, and it was. I don't know. It seemed to prick people's ears up, like what's going on, and maybe it didn't. But at the same time,
no, I think it does. I think it's interesting. I think
the collaborative approach and stuff. It's just growing things. It's like growing connections, and there's something in that. There's something in that.
There's definitely something in that, deep rooted of doing something together for having the same goal, aiming towards something and doing it together and being proud of that something together, as opposed to creating something separate, which is all okay to do. But I think even if you're creating something separate and doing something together, you're able to then understand what their process is, appreciate what they do, understand their music a bit more. And I think that, it could really benefit from that side of the hip hop world came into other areas of, in particular, guitar music for me.
Definitely. And thingy you mentioned then in that, not to quickly move on or anything, because I think that's what we just spoke about. It's important, and I think it's important to us, and I enjoyed listening to you, especially talk about it then, because it made me want to even do it even more.
Want to even do it even more? That's great. Did they say that quick? Want to even do it even more?
You laid a little shameless plug in there, but I'd like to talk about Blue Skies and the track and what it means to us, because we're proud of that one. It's our first big single with a video, with the one that we've put money into advertising and stuff like that. We're really backing it. We wanted to give it as big a chance as possible. The meaning of the band is from start to finish in this song. It goes from start to finish. This really, really lays out everything, our whole ethos. It lays it all out in one tune. It's about the journey, about the process, about stepping out your comfort zone. It's the whole thing is about realizing that you could be the source of your own problems, but at the same time that's freeing, because you can be the solution to that. You can save yourself basically by realizing that you might be to blame for if your life's not the way it is. Not all the time, there is exceptions, 100%. But we got a video, haven't we, done with Cameron Jones, plug for him.
Yes, indeed.
Gosh Productions, that came back last week, and he kind of he's brought an idea to life in a way. Hasn't he? He's listened to everything that we've said to him. We had plans, a different one before this all went down, but he's just gone out, with the spare time he's had, basically he's got a drone and he's gone around Heaton Park, around Bury, around town, and he's got himself some footage while social distancing, obviously. But he's smashed it, hasn't he? He's smashed it, and
yeah, it's an incredible video. I think he's managed to capture, you know, the message the song carries in quite a unique way, a touching way. But going back to the point where you said that, you know, the song's relevance and what it's about, it really is giving you that. So everything we've kind of discussed with in terms of the message, you find pockets of that within Blue Skies. I think you find that hope, you find that meaning, you find that understanding that actually you're looking at yourself and what you can do and what you can actually do. And I heard something the other day, not to go away from the video, I'll come back to that in a sec, but I was running, and I don't do much running at all, but I was running and listening to tunes, but also having the Nike running app. There is other running apps available, but
well, again, your sponsorship deal, innit?
yeah.
And Nike.
And there's like a coach and a trainer that talk you through the run, and there's the guy from Headspace, I forget his name, apologies, but the sort of founder or co-founder of that, he talks you and trains you through the run as well from a Headspace point of view. And I think, you know, we like that mindfulness stuff. We talk about that within our songs, and we talk about that within our own being as well.
Sorry, mate. Sorry if you lose your train of thought. The whole song is like a meditation, basically.
Yeah, that's how it was. Yeah. So kind of leading towards that, because it made me feel like that. And he was talking about the blue skies element, and I think it paints a picture well of the fact that you can look up at blue skies and feel inspired and feel that there's something there, that there's hope, that there's, you know, it's a great world. But then when the grey clouds come, you kind of forget about the blue skies. And I think you can take that in whatever way you want, if you want to take it literally, or if you want to take it metaphorically and hold that up against your own life in terms of looking at when the skies are grey and there's big heavy clouds around, it's going to fucking absolutely hammer it down and you're going to be pissed off. You forget those blue skies exist to a degree, because you're looking out and that's your world today, but behind them, the blue skies is always there and it's always still there. And within this song, it resonates for me in that sense, that there is that keep on believing that thing that you're aiming for and that thing that you're doing can be covered up by certain things, but it's always still going to be there. No one can ever take it away from you, because it's only you that can do that. And he said about just remembering that they're always there and they can be moved away. And by you meditating and by you understanding yourself and your actions and the way that you are progressing in certain things, you're able to sort of remove those, or help your own journey sort of remove those sort of foggy days, if you like.
It's like business of life, isn't it? Like the traffic stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it sort of really resonated with me. And you know, it's interesting to see when people have got their headphones in, walking along a canal and in the sunshine, listening to that song. I'm looking forward to hearing what people think about it, 100%. But going back to the video, I think he's managed to capture that in a really relevant way. Do you know what I mean? Not that it's not that message that I've just spoke about. Then to a degree, it's managed to hit me when I watched the video first time. I was like, this is hitting me in a place that's, as a listener, I was like, you know, it's really powerful imagery. And what's going on right now, like you touched upon before we spoke about our story and how we wrote the lockdown stuff and the state beyond lockdown and the LOAstate story before this obviously happened, but seeing that inputted throughout what's happened in lockdown and throughout it being known on the streets and known in town, and it really sort of perfect timing that everyone was locked at home for us to film this video for this track, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
It's been quite emotional, like, with it all.
Yeah, it's a good word to use. It's a good word to use.
Right, like when Cam first sent the video, we spoke about this with Cam anyway, me and Ryan on one of our like meetings with him. It hit home, and it was like, it was overwhelming to watch the first draft. It really was. Because it's been the conversation for the past 2 years, and we've all spoke about it. We've all been going out of our minds with it. We've all been like, we know something's there, but it's not been clear, and it's like taking the words and stuff out your head and putting it on paper and looking back at it, making sense of it, and then getting that back from Cam and Ryan. I think, like I said, we spoke about it, and I think you'll agree, mate. It was a relief and it showed to me that we're onto something good here. We're hitting the right channels. We care. We're caring people, man, and we do care about each other and stuff like that. And I think with this tune, and the video and the visuals, it really brings that side to us out really well, and I think portrays us really, really well in a way that I think is positive and how we want to be portrayed to the world. Does that make sense? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there's two. Yeah, because I think there's two. Whether it's related, you tell me or not. But I think there's two for Blue Skies and the video. There's two very special things coming out of the fact that there's a track there that's talking openly and freely and quite emotionally about that. But also there's an imagery and a video coming alongside it that can tell another kind of story, interpret that song in another kind of way that's equally as emotional, as equally as powerful. So I don't know, I'm excited for two sort of angles of that, I think.
Yeah. What about you, Ryan?
I'm really looking forward to the French version coming out.
Yeah, you recorded that vocals on that, didn't you?
Yeah. No, it's the, if you were to put the LOA message into a nutshell, it would be that song, I think.
Yeah. Man, that was deep. We all look knackered now.
I know, yeah.
I'm hungover.
You're hungover as well.
Did you have a drink?
Are you happy with your response here, Denny? Are you happy with taking your first go? Go question time. Taking the lead a bit. Smashed it.
It was good to listen. I think it's last time out speaking about me all the time. Well, not me all the time, but I was speaking about that, and I think it's good to. I think we went a couple of different ways in talking about different stuff, but it's always a pleasure to hear stuff. I think you touched on it, Sid, in a previous chat around us all. When we get together, we end up learning something different. Maybe either that's about each other or learning something new. And I've taken some away from listening to you two today, which is it's inspiring. For me not to get soppy and that because you're my mates. I don't want to tell you that you're good because that's not what mates do. It is really. But I think it is inspiring, and I've enjoyed it.
Good, we need to get other people to come on now as well.
Well, that's what I've been thinking about. Like you mentioned earlier, getting someone else on. I've got a couple of ideas in different angles where I think it's interesting to see, and people can get in touch and like and comment and stuff about what the stuff is that they have stepped out and done. We've obviously stepped out and done LOAstate and done it a bit differently to other bands that we've done. Still music and still something we're interested in. But I think there's people that could go out there and do. One of my good mates, Jake Chatterton, has just made his own beer. He's always loved brewing beers. Like did it with his dad when they were younger and stuff. And some of that he just decided to buy the packaging and buy a bottle, and he's got his own beer that looks mint, and that he's just gone out and done that, and he's learned how to be a brewer. If you call him a brewer, I don't know. But people who are doing that kind of stuff, it'd be really interesting to see what their process was to step out and go and do that. So I suppose this is a calling out for anyone who's lasted this long to watch this ramble.
Going next, isn't it?
Reach out, because I think it's good to bring other people into this conversation. Because I'm sick to back teeth of talking to you two. All right.
Feelings mutual there. But yeah, no, it's like, yeah, comment on what if anyone's getting anything from this. What are your like main parts? It'd be good for us to be able to understand what's resonated with people as well, and what they're actually enjoying. I've had a few messages from people, like I said, there was a question about fashion. There's a question about the instruments, and there's a question about psychology and stuff like that. So obviously these are topics that we're kind of covering at the minute, but it'd be interesting. I think we spoke about it, Ryan. We're just going to maybe have certain blocks of this chat, so it's kind of like there's one on mastery, there's one on psychology, there's one on like getting our friends in to talk about what they're doing and stuff like that. So we'll just open it up.
We should do, because we've got some very talented friends.
And if you're thinking of doing something like this, I couldn't recommend it enough. Especially if you're in a band and wanting to just open this up, man, just go for it. Dive right in. Because
if these people, if you don't want a comment to say that you want to be part of it, then I'll challenge your other mates who know how good you are for you to put them right in it and tag them in it and get who do you want to see us talking to? Because you're right, we have a lot of interesting friends and interesting that have got different hobbies and doing different stuff, and I'd love to hear about other people's creative processes and stuff. I love listening to people, man. I love talking to people and understand. I think we all do, and I think we get a lot from understanding other people's perspectives, and that's actually just excited me a little bit. So hopefully we get someone to comment to say what's to come on.
Do you want to do the old like and subscribe thing, the pitch at the end there, Denny?
Oh yeah. This is ace. This we'll make it into a thumbnail, yeah. So I suppose it's come to an end. Good night from me. I'm going to do a full-on ending.
Story time with Denver's.
No, thanks as always for keeping up and listening to us. And like we've just said, couldn't reiterate anymore. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like, because that's how we learn. But more importantly, to our previous point, is if you want to join us in the conversation, talk about the things that you're interested in, that you're wanting to step out and do or are doing, then please have us along, because we'd love to hear about it and we'd love to encourage it and understand it a bit more. And just before I go, Blue Skies is out on the 29th of May, which is a Friday, which is next Friday. But please join us on that trip, because like we just said, if we had to put one message to sort of withhold the whole of LOAstate, it is within this track, and the video is extra special, which will follow shortly after it. So please join us on 29th and listen to that track and let us know what you think. And if you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the button below, get the fuck out of here.
Pro'd it, man. Pro. Complete pro. But yes, thanks very much for tuning in, everyone. Nice one, Ryan and Denny, as well. Like, really enjoyed that one. It was so
nice one, boys.
But yeah, take care.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, see you later.